is Leandro?
Buenos Aires. Caiu de vez.
Pois é, tá caindo. Ah, já tô? Ah, nós já estamos live, eu não sabia. Estamos esperando o Leandro Erlich entrar
Entrando,
na nossa
Leandro.
live. Entrando.
Entrou, pronto.
Temos Leandro?
Temos Leandro? Estável?
Bueno.
Ok. Perfecto.
Estamos live.
Ok, we are live.
Queria só agradecer. Graças, Leandro. Leandro Erlich, acá conosco, grande artista de instalações e trabalhos de grande repercussão no mundo. Já expôs no PS1 MoMA, enfim, o Marcelo vai falar um pouco mais. E temos o grande prazer de ter o Marcelo novamente conosco. Eu vou sumir um pouquinho, vou deixar vocês com esses dois grandes.
Tá bom. Obrigado. Okay, Leandrito, so we're going to do it in English. Okay?
Very
Can you hear me?
Hola, Marcelo.
Can you hear me well? Can you hear me well?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm going to start shooting at you. Let me ask you a very deep, profound question. If you were not an artist, I'm sure you would have been a magician. Am I wrong?
I try, but it's I'm a terrible magician. I will faint. I will faint as a magician. No, I think I will be a farmer probably.
A farmer? What kind of vegetables would you plant?
I don't know. I would, those something that will grow organically. I don't know. I think that is a matter. I feel like my brain, rather than to, it does not go it doesn't go in a straight line. The fact that I am interested in illusion, that I would, without the sight of it, I would be doing something related to illusion. I think that what triggers me is this idea of bending and stretching the confinement of reality. And so I would find something challenging in order to find myself in a situation which is trying to place my activity and my brain to think something new, to find a different way to do something. So it's like, when I was a teenager and I told my parents I want to do fine arts, it's like they said, fine arts, and why don't you, what about architecture or graphic design? I mean, it's, kind of, but I remember, I mean, I wouldn't go and do graphic design because it's close, or architecture because it was kind of close to art. It was about to do art, or I don't know, try to do biology. Like so that's why I'm not into. I think, as you, Marcelo, I think that the reason why we get along so well is because we have a field of interest that is larger,
very broad.
Yeah, broad, and than the specificity of the concerns of the art world.
Yeah, I totally feel that way, and but then it's quite interesting because it does include all these things you've mentioned. I mean, from architecture to biology, from politics to illusion to but you said a key word there when you said confinement. You've been experiencing confinement and escaping from confinement. How has it been for you to to live within confinement during these past 6-7 months?
Well, I feel like it was a whole, and it's still a whole journey. It's a journey of understanding and adaptation, and I feel like it happens in a different way, but it happens to all of us in different stages. I can easily and clearly recognize the first 3 months as something, as a chapter, and then the continuity. I have a different. I went through different moods and different thoughts. At the very beginning, was like it was a shock of something new that paralyzed everything. Everything went, kind of freeze everything and alter our. But I feel like when we are not into action, is the time we have a time for reflection, and so
Yes.
I kind of enjoy to say, maybe the word is not exactly enjoy, but I found time to think. I found time to to reflect upon things that I was not able to do on the running and going and making. And I found that it was interesting also to share, even though it was very, very dramatic in terms of, when the health systems were collapsing. I feel like this was I feel like this is a crisis that had, as any crisis has these two elements, the one which is very negative and very dramatic, and then another aspect which is an opportunity to think and to eventually come up with new solutions.
Yeah.
And so
in a way,
sorry, no, just to finish.
Go ahead.
The first 3 months, my structure, the way I work, requires people, requires a team, requires a lot of logistics, not only in terms of the exhibition, but also in terms of the production of the art. And so at that time, everything was paralyzed and freeze. And I think that allowed me also to explore another way, or another think about my practice in general. And I feel like this is something that happens to many artists, but it wasn't. It was the confinement. I was not particularly creative. I feel like that the creativity came way later than that. The first 3 months. I feel like the first 3 months were about standing still.
Yeah, just sitting and waiting.
Yeah.
What limitations and opportunities has being from Argentina given you? I mean, your point, your origin in the world and your placement in the world. Yeah.
Well, I remember that story of Fellini when he was. I feel like when he had this great success of La Dolce Vita, I think Hollywood wanted to produce his next movie and offer him everything, offer him any actor in Hollywood, all the money, whatever he needed to make the next great blockbuster film. And Fellini, and he was offered with Paul Newman and then he was, and he refused a lot of this. He refused definitely Paul Newman, and then he worked with Marcello Mastroianni to do 8 and a half. 8.5 is the story of this director who has all the infrastructure and everything, and everybody is there waiting for the director to come up with the idea for the film, but the film is, there's no idea, there's no film, and it's like the guy is like, kind of like in anguish, because it's like all the pressure of having everybody waiting for him and all the structure and all the machines. So he ordered another crane to shoot from 300 meters. And anyway, so what I think is that anecdote comes to the idea that I feel like creativity usually, from my point of view, arises when the conditions are not necessarily the best. It's not. We are far from the comfort zone, and we are thinking about how to make things without the means to make these things, and that's what Argentina is about. I mean, what we come up with, how can we do things? I mean, now there's a little bit, but there was no art market. So starting from there, that you don't have expectations about, okay, how I'm gonna sell this. How I'm gonna sell this better than this or this or this. No, already that you're not gonna sell anything. So you will try to find a way to make it anyway, because you have a dream, and then you really want to share that dream with others, and you have no idea, and then you will, I have many jobs as a teenager, and you were doing, and then you have a fellowship, you get into this and that, and you manage to go. And I think that that's the greatest advantage of coming from this latitude, is that a kind of a condition where we are not waiting for the conditions to be ready in order to make something. We are not waiting for a special support to make something. And then the challenge is, well, how to make it happen, how to get close to make it happen. So that sense of challenge, I think that I carry on from that time to until today. So it doesn't really, of course, many things get easier from 25 years ago till now, but still, I still find a way to find a shitty situation to get into.
What is unbelievable to you?
Unbelievable.
Increíble. Unbelievable.
In what sense? In the sense of awesome?
In the sense of that because you're always dealing with the believability of your machine. I mean, of your perception machine. I mean, by the way, did you study perception? Did you study physics, optical theory? Did you study this formally, or do you do it by intuition?
No, it's by intuition, but I found that I think that in politics and in social levels, through media, we know already that nothing is, and reality itself can prove to us that nothing is has the 100% condition of being unbelievable. Basically, but what is interesting is to reflect upon this idea, what is unbelievable and what is believable. And because in a way it has a link to, it has a link to our knowledge, construction of the paradigm we live in, and the a sense of trust also as well. So there are these three axes that it links with the idea of what we believe in. I think that is perception is a good way, for me, was a good way to start questioning the way we construct and our structure of certainties, which, by the way, will last for a while, but will not last forever. I mean, this part of has been the part of the human evolution. Nowadays, because we live in this technological scientific paradigm, we have the sense that we have achieved the ultimate where things are things that we believe are not going to change, which is a mistake. And
things that we believe things that we believe that are not going to change. That's what you said?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is this sense of thanks to science and with the support of technology, we have the idea that we have achieved to certain truths that are immutable, and many of them they are. I mean, 500 years ago, people would, just 500 years ago, people were sure that God was above the clouds, and now what we think about that above the clouds is just airplanes and satellites, and beyond. I mean, science has had really structured our sense of belief, and yeah.
No, when you mention God, then I have to ask you, how has your Jewish background affected your way of thinking and your way of working in looking for this realm? You mentioned God.
Yeah, well, Moses appointed me to. I mean, no, I think that the only thing I can really share, I hold in relation to Judaism is something related to humor, actually, which I found in or this kind of a sense, some kind of irony that for some reason I find associated to some kind of Jewish humor.
Yeah, absolutely. One important aspect of your work, especially in public works like La Democrazia del Simbolo or Order of Importance, has been secrecy. How did you keep such high-profile works in absolute silence until they are unveiled? Because, I mean, these works only make sense if they come out as a surprise, but they happen in public space.
Well, we basically we don't say it.
Leandro? Congelou. Voltou. Leandro? Leandro. Fiquei sozinho aqui. Estamos falando com o Leandro Erlich. Ele está em Buenos Aires, no estúdio dele. E, pelo visto, a internet não está segurando muito bem.
Hola, hola.
Oh, you're back.
Hola, hola.
Okay, hola. Good, good, good.
Hola.
So, Leandro,
Vale.
as you were starting to mention about
Hola, hola.
the secrets, can you hear me?
This,
Secrecy.
yes. Secrecy. No, basically, for projects,
Leandro, no good. Leandro. Not working. Oi, Maria Luiz.
Oi, tá falhando.
Tá falhando, vamos tentar de novo.
Vamos esperar mais um pouquinho, ver se a gente consegue.
Tô mandando um text para ele aqui.
Tá. Tentar mais um pouquinho.
Tava ficando bom.
Muito bom. Um papo super interessante sobre a percepção.
E estamos escrevendo para ele aqui agora, vamos ver se ele... Essa plataforma é boa, só que as pessoas ainda não estão muito acostumadas com ela. Mas ela é boa, o StreamYard.
Não, tem dado... As lives estão muito boas, tem dado super certo.
Só que ele deve estar tentando lá, porque, de verdade, porque a gente não pode deixar o tempo estourar.
Estamos, são 5h27, temos um...
Olá.
Entrou, Leandro. Leandro. Olá!
Olá.
Eu vou sair de novo,
Maradona passa a pelota, Pelé.
Very good. So, talk about secrecy, because we lost everything you said.
Okay, no secrecy. All the thing is like, of course, for a project like that, it was important to not announce to anyone about this action. Surprise was a key factor, and of course, this wasn't within the walls of the museum or the art center. This was public space, and it was difficult. But
very public spaces. I mean,
the
center of Buenos Aires, the beach in Miami.
Yeah, but actually, it wasn't that difficult to keep the secret, because, to be honest, I didn't know that this would happen until the very last minute, because there were so many. Yeah, because there were so many things involved about whether the wind conditions would be suitable to do it, and so on and so on. Also, the permit of the city and everything arrived in the last minute, and then wait until to see whether the wind conditions were okay to, to race and to do the whole thing at 5 a.m. in the morning. And so in a way, even if I wanted to invite my friends, I was not possible to do it because I didn't know that this would happen at that time.
Yeah.
That's the best way to keep a secret.
That's the best way to not knowing. It's easy to hide what you don't know. Yeah. Your working many times is very architecture.
To protect is better.
Yeah. I'm going to go to a basic fundamental things that I think will inspire many artists that can, in a way, be inspired by you. You work in architectural or massive scale sometimes. And the market does not have a true appetite for such scale. But at the same time, you're an unquestionable success with the public. How do you deal with such a paradox? I mean, that you have such a popularity, and I've seen it globally, from Japan, China, France, New York, Brazil, Argentina, everywhere. But at the same time, you are sort of displaced in a way with the market because of the scale that you work. But the scale is also what is so magnificent. So how do you deal with that paradox within yourself?
Well, I think that sometimes I struggle, and it's like kind of you feel like the ugly duck. I don't know how is it called in English.
Patinho feio, patinho feio.
It's a patinho feio, because you feel like that in order to succeed in all these efforts and making art, you also need a way to bring money into the structure to keep on going and to develop new things and so on. So the market and the relationship with the market, has been changing in the last years, but it's been always very challenging and difficult. And as I said, the feeling for many years have been the feeling of, oh, what am I doing wrong? That I cannot kind of, what am I doing that I cannot fit in? Like it's like in this system, and something I get to understand is that if I would.
Leandro?
Many.
We lost you for a moment.
I'm here, yes, I'm back. I feel like many things that we perceive as not the ideal and desired situation is actually what shape and what help us to make things different, and to in a way, like I feel like if I would have been somehow celebrated and gratified by the market at the very beginning, I feel like maybe this would have shaped and conditioned my actions. So in a way, like saying, imagine a situation where, nowadays I feel like the market is responding to my art because probably I also find ways to create more domestic but meaningful pieces. But imagine the situation where, an artist, a young artist, is doing great in the market and selling, and a lot of their work is everybody, and then suddenly tries something different and goes in another direction or trying to explore, and the market does not respond positively. So I feel like this is kind of a situation where the ultimate and the more important element that the artist requires is the feeling of freedom in order to explore and to, some kind of the sense of independency from everything and from everyone in order to be able to sort out, what challenge to face and what so in a, yeah. So I'm sorry, I went beyond, but I feel like this was important to me. I think that this is basically, I think that this goes in a way goes in relation to your first question about growing up or starting and developing art from a place like Argentina. So in a way, it's like I feel like it's important. It's very important to succeed and have support in terms of the market, but definitely have no doubt that it's very important to arrive to achieve what we are looking for as in terms of art, without any consideration whether this would be would have a good response or not.
I'm gonna throw you 3 concepts, and I want to see how you react to them: contemplation, surprise, and participation. These are 3 elements that are in your work. How do you relate to these 3 possibilities: contemplation, surprise, and participation?
But very good. They're very nice. You pick a very nice 3 ones. Contemplation, I feel like, from my point of view, is I relate to the idea of taking some distance from the field. I mean, taking distance from the object of or the element that we contemplate. And in that relation, it could be reality, society itself. I mean, I contemplate. I am looking at in silence. I reflect upon what I'm seeing, and I let the input of everything that is the that we contemplate. We let the to feel and to feed our brain and our senses. So I would say that I contemplate as someone that analyzes and goes into a reflection. Surprise is the element that breaks the. Surprise is the element that is required in order to shake us from this kind of ¿cómo se dice dormido, no?
Slept but
adormecido.
Adormecido. Yeah, adormecido. Yeah.
You know,
wakens you up.
Yeah, from and this is kind of an important element because for 2 reasons. It's like it gives. Okay, I mean, there are surprises and surprises. There are many surprises that are not the ones that we like to experience. But the way I approach surprise is more the way that children face surprise in the process of knowledge or the acquisition of knowledge, because it's the first time you see something. So someone psychiatric was saying that that those things that under the circumstances of being surprised become unforgettable. We have our brain functions in such a way that element that surprised us, it becomes something that very difficult to forget. So someone would say, "Oh, that's great," you know. So you would say, "What? How about, you know, if I have to study for something that I don't need to? How about learning everything through surprise?" But the thing is, that's a contradiction itself, because surprise is a moment of quiebre. It's a breaking point in the line. So I think that I approach the idea of surprise in the way that what we either related to the expectations or related to the you know, the way we in a way take for granted, or we live on alienated way our lives. And I feel like a surprise is a way of, hey, it's calling your attention just to trigger something and look things again. And the last
participation.
Yeah. Yes. And participation, I feel like I relate to participation in a way that I feel very much linked to this, you know, with our time, because there is this idea of being protagonist. I think this was not the way society functioned in the past. There has been a change over the, you know, the last decades of the 20th century, and definitely in the 21st century, of the idea of the individual that is like a protagonist. So this the role, the leading role. So basically, there is this concept of you know, it's something to I feel like it's something that could be tricky, because there's a lot of things that play with the fake idea that you are part of the game, so you are participating, you kind of you know, you know, engaging people. I think that's something that the structure, even the, you know, media and the strategies of the market plays in this way, in a way that you count. But so everybody, the thing is, like, we feel that we are all in a leading role, which is actually a deceiving thing. But nevertheless, the idea that we need to participate, that we all require an individual action and participation, is absolutely a positive aspect from my point of view. Then we have to, you know, talking about the experiences I propose in my artwork,
You have to repeat. You have to repeat what you just said, because we lost everything from the last sentence.
Okay, no, I was saying that in terms of what my art is proposing, is inviting to participation, is essential, because my work in many cases proposes an experience, and that experience gets only activated through the previous experiences and the previous knowledge of the people, that the people have, the viewer have in their own lives. So participation is the way that, you know, a way of evoking something that will be potentially an allegory of something that we have lived in the past. I often say that the art, in many cases, my installations are a kind of a stage where the viewer is not just the viewer, but is also the actor. But actually, their actions on the stage are not free. They are conditioned by the space, and I feel like there's like a anticipation of, definitely there's an anticipation of what the viewer will experience. Nevertheless, because it has been anticipated by me, but nevertheless, the experience is given to the viewer yes. So
Again,
yes, I can.
last
Yes.
sentence.
So basically, I think that the viewer becomes an actor on the stage.
Yeah.
And then the viewer becomes, yes, the visitor becomes the audience for other members of the audience that are playing in the same stage. Yes. And so, and ultimately becomes the person who has to not only live
Yeah. You have to repeat the last sentence.
Yes. So at the end, so the viewer becomes someone who has to interpret their own actions. It has to interpret the meaning of the artwork itself and their experience in the artwork. So I feel like somehow talking about these three elements that you mentioned before, which was contemplation, surprise, and participation, I would say that the viewer has to deal with three actions, which is the recognition of the situation, the understanding, the action as an actor in this role, and then the interpretation of the piece, which involves their own participation as a subject of interpretation. So I feel like this sequence is articulated in stages and extremely simple, yet with the complexity of something that is not a unit, but it goes into
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good. Two more questions. Do you think that these immersive experiences that you've created, and many other artists are experimenting on those as well, will make people more visually and sensorily literate? Are we educating people's senses?
I think that I feel like the senses, okay, perception and our senses are the inherent tools humans we have in order to understand the world. We born with these senses. These 5 senses we have are the key, are the tools we have before we get knowledge, conceptual knowledge transmitted by language. Before language, these are the senses that allowed us to understand where are we standing. And through knowledge, many times we mistake, because through perception, not through knowledge. But anyway, because if we, for centuries, we believed that everything was spinning around the earth, or we believed that the earth was flat. That's how we perceive things, and
some
that's
people still do.
How perception can perception can mislead to the understanding of reality. But nevertheless, perception is there to understand. So the use of perception to understand is something that evokes a primary experience in our life. I believe that we kind of like we are so developed. We in our amazing human evolution, we went this far that we are speaking like this, like as if we are next to each other, but we are facing a flat screen that it has light, and I can hear you, I can see you. It's like amazing. And nevertheless, we're still humans, and these senses are still within us. And in a way, you know, to propose a work that leads and requires participation and requires to activate our senses is a way to remain human.
Yeah, I think one of the great achievements of your work is to actually doubt perception. You know, it's your territory, the richness of your territory is the doubt that it creates. And then when you start questioning your own perception, you realize the complexity of the world, that it's not what it seems. And I find that to be, yeah, a very rich thing. By working a lot in the East and in the West, how do you feel the difference between the audiences in the East and in the West?
Well, I think that the one thing that is interesting is to realize, or something that was a great gratification, was to realize how my work could be, you know, appreciated as far as in Japan, far from geographically and culturally, because. But it has. I probably have to deal with.
I'm losing you again.
As
Leandro.
we were talking before, a sort of way like. Yes.
No, repeat, because we lost you for a second.
Okay. No, I'm saying that it's interesting to see how the audiences may be different in some aspects. Some people are more extroverted and some people are more introverted. I was
No, Leandro.
yes.
We finished hearing you when you said extroverted
sí,
and introverted. Así estamos, sí. Te escucho.
Yes. I was saying, yes, okay. But despite this different, I think that what I found very interesting is that maybe because dealing with perception, perception unifies all. It's like,
yeah, it's true. Perception unifies. Hello? Yeah, it's you answered what I wanted to hear, which is the relationship. Perception bypasses cultural differences. Perception goes beyond cultural differences and unites people rather than separates people. Now we have 5 minutes, Leandro. I would love. Do you think you can move around the studio a little bit and show us how you work, Leandro? Let's see. The internet is not really great today. Leandrito.
Yes. Yes. Let's see if can see Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me see if I can spin the camera. If not, I will.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
you can spin the camera. Yes, I think you can. There is a.
No,
I think there is a can mic. There's a button down there. Mute, stop cam, can mic. On can mic, you can choose. You can choose the camera that you want. Yeah.
From camera, back camera. There it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, now it's 6 p.m. on Friday, so
Everybody's gone.
Most of everybody's gone, but this is like kind of the office where we do the computer work, and we start with some, some projects. Develop things. It really depends on the projects.
Bom, perdemos o Marcelo, perdemos o Leandro. Vamos ver se eles voltam, mas... Caiu? Ele parou? Hã? Ah, desculpa. Eu tava...
Eu voltei.
Oh, voltou.
Vamos ver se o Leandro
Que bom.
aparece.
Queria saludar.
Oh, okay. I can see. Leandro, we lost you for a second, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was lovely to talk to you, and we'll talk soon. Hopefully, we're going to have Leandro in Brazil next year, and this is going to be cool.
It's going to be awesome.
All right.
We hope to have you here, Leandro. Muchas gracias.
I hope so too. Gracias a ustedes. Tchau. Gracias.
Tchau, dear.
Tchau.
Obrigada, Marcelo.
Obrigado, queridos. Tchau.
Tchau. Obrigada, muito obrigada. Tchau.